The Krell Armada had been laying siege to the Varanthi homeworld for 3 cycles. Their crimson warships, each the size of a small moon, floated in perfect geometric formation around the dying planet. Admiral Thexkor stood on the bridge of his flagship, mandibles clicking in satisfaction as he watched another city burn below. "The Varanthi will surrender within the hour," his tactical officer announced. "Their defenses are—" The sensor array erupted in a cacophony of warnings. "What is that?" Thexkor demanded, his 4 eyes narrowing at the display. "Unknown vessels emerging from slipspace," the officer stammered. "Designation human?" Thexkor's blood ran cold. He had heard whispers of humanity in the outer reaches. A young species, aggressive, unpredictable. The Galactic Council had warned against engaging them, but the Krell had never encountered them directly. Until now. On the bridge of the UHSN Defiance, Captain Jennifer Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the tactical display with cold precision. Beside her, Commander Jack Morrison counted down the seconds until weapons range. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Krell flagship," the communications officer reported. "Don't answer," Jennifer said quietly. "Let them wonder." The human fleet had materialized like ghosts, 73 warships that seemed impossibly small compared to the Krell behemoths. But Jennifer knew what the enemy didn't. Humanity had spent 2 centuries perfecting the art of war. Not the honorable ritualistic combat that dominated galactic conflicts, but total, ruthless efficiency. "They're hailing us again," the officer said. "They're demanding we—" "Weapons free," Jennifer interrupted. "All ships. Execute Protocol Ragnarok." Jack's fingers danced across his console. Firing solution locked. All vessels confirm ready. The Krell never got to finish their demands. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The human ships didn't engage in the traditional dance of warfare. The posturing, the threats, the gradual escalation. They simply erased the enemy from existence. The first salvo came from the railgun platforms. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed. They punched through Krell shields like they weren't there, vaporizing entire sections of hull. Before the first round of impacts had even registered on enemy sensors, the second wave arrived. Nuclear-pumped laser arrays, each one capable of delivering gigawatts of focused energy, carved through the Krell formation. Ships that had taken decades to construct were cut in half, their reactor cores breaching in brilliant flares of light. "Krell flagship is attempting to return fire," Jack reported, his voice steady despite the carnage on the display. "Intercept their munitions." "Launch the Hornets," Jennifer ordered. Thousands of automated drones poured from the human ships, small, fast, and devastatingly effective. They swarmed the incoming Krell missiles and torpedoes, detonating them far from the fleet. Then they turned their attention to the enemy ships themselves, boring into hulls and detonating inside critical systems. Admiral Thexkor watched in horror as his fleet died around him. They had tried to hail the humans. They had tried to negotiate. They had tried to surrender. But the humans weren't listening. They weren't even broadcasting threats or demands. They were simply executing. "Get us out of here!" Thexkor screamed. "Emergency jump, now!" But the humans had planned for that too. The Defiance and her sister ships had already deployed FTL interdiction fields. Nothing was leaving this battlefield except as debris. Jennifer watched the tactical display with the detachment of a surgeon removing a tumor. Each Krell ship that winked out of existence was a calculation fulfilled, a mission objective achieved. She felt Jack's presence beside her, steady, reliable, as cold-blooded as she was in combat. "The Krell flagship is breaking apart," he said. "Estimate 30 seconds until complete structural failure. Any survivors attempting to escape?" "Negative. Their life pods are... We're tracking launches, but they won't make it to the planet's gravity well before..." "Understood." Jennifer's jaw tightened. This was the part that haunted her in the quiet hours. But she'd learned long ago that hesitation in warfare cost lives. Human lives. Allied lives. Maintain fire discipline. No one gets away. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted 11 minutes from first shot to final confirmation of enemy elimination. 73 human ships had annihilated a Krell armada that had terrorized 3 star systems. Not a single human vessel suffered critical damage. As the last pieces of Krell warships tumbled through space, Jennifer finally allowed herself to breathe. The bridge crew remained silent, professional, but she could feel the weight of what they'd done settling over them all. "Open a channel to the Varanthi government," she said. A blue-skinned face appeared on the screen, eyes wide with shock and something that might have been fear. "This is Captain Jennifer Chen of the United Human Space Navy. The Krell threat to your world has been neutralized. We're transmitting coordinates for medical and reconstruction supplies. We'll maintain orbit for 72 hours to ensure no follow-up attacks occur." The Varanthi official opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. You destroyed them. An entire battle fleet. In minutes, without warning, without negotiation." Jennifer's expression remained neutral. They were actively bombarding a civilian population. In human military doctrine, that eliminates the requirement for preliminary contact. "We came to stop a massacre. We stopped it." Jack leaned closer to her, speaking quietly. "The Galactic Council is going to have questions about this." "Let them ask," Jennifer replied, cutting the channel. She turned to address her bridge crew. "Good work, everyone.
Stand down from combat alert.
Begin recovery operations for any Varanthi escape pods in the area." As the Defiant settled into a stable orbit, Jennifer stood at the viewport, staring out at the debris field that had once been the proud Krell Armada. She knew the galaxy would react with shock. They would call humanity brutal, merciless, terrifying. They would be right. But they would also be alive, because when humanity entered a war zone, they didn't come to talk. They came to win, decisively, overwhelmingly, before a single word of negotiation could leave enemy mouths. That was the human way, and the galaxy would learn to live with it, or learn to stay out of humanity's path.